What's up everyone, it's Russo. I hope everyone is doing well. Please follow my Instagram at RussoLifts, just in case something happens to this YouTube channel. You can follow, message, and you can watch my daily story content on Instagram. I'll see you there. That ASMR sip though. What's up everyone, it's Russo. I hope everyone is doing well. Today I'm going to be going into injectable LGD 3303. My thoughts, experiences, comparing it to oral LGD 3303, oral LGD 4033, and injectable LGD 4033. My experience, my thoughts. Now, just right off the bat, I don't condone any of this. I'm obviously a crazy person. We've been through this. I'm psychotic, so don't copy me, but I am going to be kind of specifically going into dosings with this video for harm reduction. Not to encourage people, but yeah, I found a point of no return with 3303. So just, point that out there. I used to go into dosages with everything. I'd be like, at this dose, I noticed this side effect. At this dose, I had this side effect. I found this dose to be the sweet spot. YouTube doesn't like that. So if you have any specific questions, as always, here comes the plug. Follow me on Instagram at RussoLifts. Please give me a second chance by following me on an alternative media platform other than the censorship gods with YouTube. So let's get started. So LGD 3303 is by far, in my opinion, the strongest SARM I've ever messed around with. Milligram per milligram, I don't think anything comes close to it. Personally, if I would compare it power-wise with the rest of the SARMs that I've played around with, it would be comparable to S23, high dosage LGD 4033, high dosage YK11. So YK11 is technically not even a fucking SARM, right? It's a steroid essentially. It's a DHT backbone steroidal structured SARM or whatever. But yeah, I would compare it up with those heavy hitters, right? It's stronger than RAD by far. I feel like the closest comparison would be high dosage S23 as far as comparing SARMs go. I think as far as comparing gear goes, I know a lot of people are going to disagree with me, but I feel like 3303, high dosage 4033, S23, and YK11 are on the same level as actual orals I've tried. And to relate it to an oral that I tried, I would relate 3303 kind of similar to Anadrol with more of less strength, more volume in the gym as far as benefits go. Definitely think Anadrol is better for strength, but when it comes to being able to increase working volume as well as getting stronger and denser, 3303 is up there and comparable. So I got some LGD 3303. Like I said, if you want the plug, you got to follow me on Instagram at RussoLifts. We're keeping this channel as PG as possible, so follow me on Instagram. I'll do it one more time. I know you guys are like, shut the fuck up, but have to say it. So I messed around with the LGD 3303 the past couple of weeks, and I want to go into specific dosings, but first I'm going to just go into what 3303 is like. So I've already said this in 2 previous videos, but 3303 is like everything you want LGD 4033 to be in a condensed half-life, not watery like 4033. I know some people don't hold water on 4033, but in my opinion, it's pretty common that some people hold water from an electrolyte imbalance with 4033. I don't get that with 3303. It's more of a dry compound with fullness, right? It's not sucking you out dry. You're getting fuller and drier. Whereas LGD, you're getting way fuller but a little bit more watery. And whereas S23, you're getting more sucked in and dry. Personally, with me, unless I eat a shit ton to keep up with the androgen. But LGD 3303 is like everything you wanted 4033 to be with a condensed half-life of 6 hours, meaning as a pre-workout androgen, it hits hard. This has the worst aggression side effects, I think, of any of the SARMs. And I'm talking like high dosage RAD 140. I would dose 20 milligrams oral pre-workout from my lab rat, and it hit like a Mack truck on my way to the gym, right? So it got huge mental euphoria rush, you know, like similar if I did like test suspension or like Tren Ace and the Ace was hitting like perfectly as I was going to the gym, but huge euphoria rush, giant bouts of aggression, and then I'm bipolar, so it felt like a bipolar episode coming on. Like it's that strong, it's that condensed, and it spikes that hard. Whereas 4033, LGD 4033, even in extreme high dosages, doesn't impact my mood whatsoever. So that goes to say, you know, 3303 androgenic way more, and that it hits way harder and it's way more condensed, and that super long half-life that 4033 is known for, and the stability of 4033, and that's why 403303 is being pushed through clinical trials and 3303 has been left behind, is probably because of, you know, the stability in levels and the less spiking of levels. But as far as pre-workout androgens go, way more pre-workout aggression, way more motivated in the gym. Felt like pre-workout D-ball mentally, you know. It was very, very strong. Felt like pre-workout S23, but ingression was insane. Way more short-tempered for sure, similar to R80 140 and Tren. But, you know, I wasn't like antisocial like Tren. It wasn't anything like that extreme, but definitely way more snappy, way more aggressive when 3303 came. So that was with the oral, right? So I messed around with the oral. And if you guys remember last year around this time, I was messing around with injectable LGD 4033. So the injectable SARM hype, you know, I was the one messing around with injectable SARMs, and, you know, it was basically, my conclusion was that injectable SARMs really aren't worth it because they destroy SHBG and that they cause more side effects, but they're really strong injectable SARMs. So like theoretically, and I don't know where people are getting these numbers, but I'll just say what I heard on the internet. But theoretically, the oral bioavailability of LGD 4033 is around 40%. And if you switch it to an injectable administration method, you know, closer to 80-ish%. So I was, you know, really excited with 3303 considering how freaking strong 3303 was oral, and that the bioavailability could go up with injectables. So I do have a source. You can go on my Instagram. I've honestly got a mixed feedback about this source. I'm going to be completely honest, but the batch that I have received was real, and I did not test out the oral from them, only the injectable, FYI, but you guys can see it on my source list. But let's go into injectable 3303. So insanely strong. Like, I'm not trying to bullshit anyone. I'm not trying to overhype SARMs. Insanely strong. Similar to LGD 4033. You know, LGD 4033 blew me away with how strong it was compared to oral 4033. So I messed around with injectable 3303 for around 2-3 weeks, and I added in pre-workout like out of the blue a couple times to see like if I had to keep it stable for a couple days to get the benefits, or if I could just add it in out of the blue for the pre-workout aggression, for the fullness, for the nitrogen retention, and the nutrient partitioning, you know, just randomly. And it works decently, but it's definitely, you want to keep it more stable. And I had the injectable LGD 3303 XR. Now, I don't know if that equates to anything, and if the owner wants to talk to me about how that equates to something, he needs to obviously back that with some sort of evidence that it's esterified. I would really like to know how that XR works personally, but it's XR. So I was still not trusting that it was extended release and was dosing every day. Now this is the crazy part. So I'm going to go into specific dosages. So with the LGD 4033, when I ran that crazy SARM bulk where I did the MK677, injectable YK, and then the injectable LGD 4033, and just ate 6,000 calories a day and went from 220 to 250 plus, with gaining probably only like 1-3% body fat in such a short period of time. It was like 2-3 months. I exploded. And that was mostly due to the 4033 and me actually keeping up with the sped up metabolism from 4033, which was the struggle. and I didn't record any of my diet during that time, but my diet was what really pulled me through on that cycle because it was so strong. So my rat was dosing around 45 to 50 milligrams a day with that. So that was absolutely insane, super strong. And you know, with this 3303 experiment, I was planning to try and get close to that. Now, this is where 3303 really shows how strong it is. So as I crept up, obviously I started low, assess side effects, assess blood pressure, and then slowly taper up to see what my rat could personally tolerate. You know, by the time I got to 30 milligrams, my blood pressure was for sure compromised, equivalent to like doing, you know, a high dosage of a regular 17 alkylated methylation steroid that increases blood pressure, such as Dianabol. You know, I don't really like compromising my blood pressure like that, but, you know, I obviously continued on for this experiment. But around 30 milligrams, I found to be as much as you could get away with, in my opinion, for a longer ass cycle rate. I'm talking like over 5 weeks. I did push forward, and I pushed to 45 milligrams, and too much. My blood pressure was so high. My resting heart rate was over 20, over normal, and my blood pressure shot up as well. And I was very, you know, wary to train super hard with my blood pressure that compromised. So hypertension and everything, that really shows how strong 3303 is as far as, you know, androgenic wise and how it stacks up to other androgens. It's no joke. So, you know, 10 to 25 is pretty tolerable. 30s where I found, like, you know, that's a sweet spot for my lab rat personally. And then as I tried to near 50 milligrams, which would match what I was doing with INJECT LGD 4033, I couldn't tolerate it for 2 days, right? My blood pressure was all over the place, horrible side effects, and yeah, definitely not worth it. Definitely super strong, and that was definitely the point of no return as far as side effects outweighing the risk. What is my overall thoughts is that LGD 3303 is just as strong as regular gear, has the same amount of side effects as regular gear, but it's very exciting, right? It's like people always like, oh, you know, SARMs aren't as strong as regular gear. 100% S23 LGD 3303 stack completely up against all oral gear, in my opinion, if you dose it high enough. And 3303 is one of the craziest androgens I've ever messed around with, period. And when we look at my results with injectable LGD 4033, that was comparable to, you know, a pretty serious gear cycle. And I did overall way less milligrams than, you know, overall milligram per milligram compared. I did way less milligrams for my lab rat comparative to if I did it with regular gear. And overall, I had way less side effects with the LGD 4033 than if I would have blasted D-ball test and DECA, you know. My blood pressure was still pretty normal with injectable LGD 4033. And I got the same result. So obviously this SARM is not female friendly whatsoever. In my opinion, super androgenic. You're definitely going to face hair loss side effects, prostate binding, as well as obviously blood pressure increases, and the normal side effects evolved around with LGD, which the main side effect with LGD is muscle cramping, electrolyte imbalance. Your muscles are going through minerals and electrolytes way faster because they can fire faster. So there are a couple times where I was coming home from the gym just holding the steering wheel after doing triceps. My triceps would Charlie horse because, you know, I wasn't taking in enough electrolytes to balance out the LGD. Still got that with 3303, and then obviously the aggression side effects. But super interesting androgen, extremely rare SARM. Like I said, I only had one plug for this, and it hasn't, you know, I've gotten mixed feedback. Honestly, the batch I got with 3303 is 100% real, the injectable. I still need to get a batch of oral administration oral administration LGD 3303 to play around with. But yeah, that's my personal thoughts and comparisons. I think that, you know, for the hardcore gear user who always, you know, saying that SARMs don't work, SARMs aren't strong enough, I would say mess around with S23 in a high enough dosage, or mess around with LGD 3303 in enough dosage, and you will see. And I guess the one other side effect I should go into, but I already mentioned in this video, is that it's going to crash SHBG. So sex hormone binding globulin is going to go down because your body does not recognize the SARM for an androgen, meaning that, you know, the SARMs are randomly binding everywhere, and it's not really like your body can't create SHBG to neutralize it as it would if you blasted test. Your SHBG would go up because it's wanting to bind all the free test. That when you add in a SARM into the equation, it causes a SHBG crash, meaning that when you're using your testosterone base under the injectable SARM, that you want your injectable test lower, because less is more, because your SHBG is crashed, meaning that basically all the test you inject is free testosterone, which you're going to feel, versus if you did a testosterone only cycle. As the cycle continued, SHBG would begin to counteract all the testosterone that's being exogenously added. So you have to be careful with that. You know, when I got my blood work done, my SHBG was in the gutter, and I had to completely eradicate all the SARMs out of my protocols and just up my test a little bit and wait for my SHBG to come back to normal. So that is my thoughts and experiences with LGD 3303 injectable. I definitely think it's deserving of doing a full cycle log, but trying to keep my blood work relatively clean as far as what, you know, I'm going to do next with the contest. So hope everyone is well, and I will see you guys in my next video.